This is Stories Untold. I am Mpumi. Thank you for tuning in. We are giving you our edition of our show today right here in Mofolo, Soweto, where we are having a sit down with a rape survivor, Musa Blessing Mbewe Kahlongwa. Now, Musa had to relive a horrific incident that happened to her when it happened to her daughter the very same way. How did she pull through, and what keeps her going, and how did she survive all those traumatic experiences? We are talking to Musa right now.
I am Musa Mbewe from Zola, Cherwa Sekasi nje, ngikhulele eKasi Zola 2. A place where everyone has got an idea of how you're going to come out as, when you're there. I was raised by Ugogo, ordinary 4-room house. At some point, we were about 11 at home. I started school when I was 4 years old. And the reason for that is because my grandmother, and at home, there wouldn't be mommy a crash every time. So my grandmother spoke to the school, would let us do 2 years because we are just opposite the school. Since into 2 years, this is the school, and then when we are 6, we're going to start a grade 1. I got to school, they realized they would, no, we can't keep this one in preschool. So I did my grade 1 when I was 4 years. When I was 8 years, I was already at Sulihle, doing standard 3 when I was 11 years, being in level. I was the last born schooling. I matriculated from Excelsior High School. I left there, got help from a family friend, obviously doing well. I started working when I was 18 years. And I worked for Nedbank permanently. Grew myself whilst I was in the bank, studied, did the banking degree with the Tamalun School of Banking. The bank was funding it. Fast growing as well. In no time, I was a team leader in asset-based finance. I always believed there is something in me, something about me that is just, I don't know, special about myself, not proving to anyone else. I also did want to prove my background wrong. Something different is going to come. I've got a child that looks exact, a replica. You'll see, like she's everything. The voice sounds like mine, everything. If you know me, you will see her and you know that that's just her.
The relationship I have with my mother is, in essence, the core of who I am. It's the one thing that I used to run back. I make reference to. All of my other relationships are based on that relationship. So I run to her for advice. She's my friend, she's my sister, and she's my mom. And I guess she's also my anchor. Sometimes when you're going through the most, you just know what's mama. So I guess that in itself is, what my relationship with my mother is.
There's strange things about me and her that it's like we've got a very same calendar of life. To a point that when I go on my period, I know that she's going on her periods. I would skip periods for whatever that's going on. She won't be going on her periods. It's like everything. That's just how we are.
When I'd be somewhere else, she'd be somewhere else, and we wouldn't have seen each other for months. And I'm like, yeah, this is how it is. And she's like, me too. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. So we are synchronized in that manner, even spiritually.
Musa has always been an overachiever, and that, coupled with her hard work, enabled her to get the finer things life had to offer.
I got a car. A car I had was a Land Rover Freelander, 0 on the clock, babe. Like 4x4, a scare. And so I was enjoying that, working for the bank. Would get calls like, hi, ma'am. We're just calling to check. Is the car okay? Are you still happy? Is there anything we can do? So those courtesy calls will be fun for a child that comes from Zola. At some point, they gave me a call and they said to me, there's something wrong with your car. We're not sure if yours is one of those, but we're gonna have to take your car and check if it also has a latent defect. So we know what a latent defect is, something you won't see with your naked eye. If it has, we will recall it and see if it can be fixed, or we're going to replace it because it's still new. By 4 o'clock early in the morning, they came to take the car. Later, I thought they were going to be back. They called me to say, we're not going to be able to bring the car back. We are delaying. Can we bring you a courtesy car? I'm like, come on, what's a fuss? I've been traveling on taxis almost all the time. Why would today be so different? So I'll take a taxi. please, if the car is not ready by tomorrow, consider bringing me a courtesy car. And so I took a taxi. It's that day where I don't have a car, and I don't know how it had to be that day. So I got off on a taxi going to Zola is facing that direction. So I drop off a quiz station. There is a filling station here, and then there's a medical center. It's called Kayalit Medical Center. So I got off. There was a car, a BMW silver, 4 guys were sitting in it, and I got off. It looks like a so, in bank, so you don't. So this guy's like, hi, Johnny, Nikona. Can we talk to you? I'm like, no, I'm rushing. I'm a doctor. So, yeah, okay, let us give you, if guys really across and he's a good doctor, so there's nothing. Okay, fine. So I'm getting a good doctor. They waited for me for all that time because I waited for other patients. I didn't walk in and just go in. There were other people. And it was winter season, so people who have got flu and things like that. At that time, when that happened, my daughter was still breastfeeding. I come out of the doctor's rooms, and this car is now facing that direction. It's now parked here. Okay, so it's a car. I'm like, no, guys, who will go into the car that has got 4 guys? We in Dombazan, we want, you will not do that. And I'm like, no, I'm good. In my mind, the guys were decent, very decent. As I was walking towards the filling station, just in the middle, the language just changed. So that's what it was. Open the doors. At the time, every time when this part happens, it's like there's slow motion of that because I just go into that day. And the doors opened. And I was wearing corporate wardrobe. Now, corporate wardrobe has got a way of how you wear it. There's things you don't show and things like that. Dragged me into the car. And I remember my kenopo of the buttons of the shirt where they burst open. Took me to the car, and fast forward, I was getting raped.
This is Late Edition, where you get all the action, the latest news from all corners of South Africa. When others switch off, we stay on.
We are tired. Load shedding. People are not working. Load shedding. Everything has to sort out.
Late Edition, wall-to-wall coverage, with all the news until midnight.
Musa Blessing Bewekahlongwa's journey has been encompassed by sharp curves, twists and turns that made her to make a decision that was well thought of.
I changed my name from Upindile because I've picked up a number of patterns in my life of things that are repeating, and they're not good things. And maybe I read too much I'm very analytical, so I read too much into everything. Literally, when I do something for the first time, until I repeat it, otherwise it's not proper. It's either, even if I'm use a light thing, writing an SMS, it will have an error. And if I send it the first time, I must read it again or whatever, but you will pick up there's those, those, but also bad things that are happening to my life. They're not happening the first time, over and above that. Maybe let me stretch it to on the 12th, 2 years ago, my daughter went through the very same incident. You remember I told you we had like the same. She was gang raped, also by 4 guys. And they shot the boyfriend 2 bullets. He died at the gate at home. And they went to go and rape her where they went to dump me. At the railway line, I was dumped. Yeah, and she was raped. So there's like, so I know how difficult that is for her.
It's not so much the incident rather than it is the aftermath of the incident, The pain of that, am I allowed to be explicit about it? Yeah, the rape, the murder, the assault. That wasn't the biggest thing. It was, what is the lesson coming from this? That kind of shook me. And I remember the whole time, oh my God, I need to calm down. The whole time, I was okay. I think I had more than 5 people interview me to get a statement. What happened? What happened? And like nothing happened. Casually went through it over and over again. And when she came, I broke down. She immediately got into her role. She hasn't stopped.
I believe Uguti, because of what I've been through, it's easy for her to say my mom did it. And I know that that's what sustains her.
The forceful invasion of her body and her near-death encounter were not the end of traumas. Musa was also infected with HIV at the time when the stigma was still rife and when everyone who was infected was called names.
I didn't take the medication after I was diagnosed. I didn't tell anyone. At the time, they will tell you, if you take your medication well, you could live up to 10 years. I'm like, wow, they present this as good news. So I'm supposed to leave here and start counting that I must count down. So after 3 months, I know that is now 9 years, 7 months, because this is up to. And that is only when you take. But the medication is going to disform you, but it's better than not, So you're going to, and I was looking at this, I'm like, damn, this is not going to be my portion. I can't go through all this much and still carry something that's going to make me look it. I didn't want to identify with it because in any case, I know everyone who started taking medication at that time, they all had a specific shape. I felt that it's just too much. I can't then be diagnosed. I'm scared of sharing it. Automatically, I'm taking the medication that's going to tell the whole world what is happening. And I refused the medication. I stayed 14 full years. I was learning about it. What is this AIDS? What does it do? So I know people were not ready to receive the news of my diagnosis. And so I kept it. And it sustained me. 14 years, nobody knew what was happening with me. Because remember, I was not ready to share with anybody. And then until the time my body could not take it. I'm now in a hospital. I'm sick. Pay medical aid, bakususe from a private hospital, and they move you to Helen Joseph, where you are done with people who are saying, if you can't eat, please just try and drink some water and maybe bite a bit. To people who are going to say, hey, mamela la, asilanga wena la, so we are poor and, so the transition in the time when you're not okay. I literally got full-blown AIDS, literally full-blown, literally, that I didn't have to tell anybody. Anyone who knew me knew what I had. And people were already gossiping about me, that would have seen me outside to say, I got so sick that the hospital had nothing to, they couldn't do anything. They told me, I remember Dr. Spencer, I respect him. He came and said, if I come back on Monday and this patient is still like this, we're pulling the plug. And at the time, being a matambo, you literally do this and close here. It's no exaggeration. I would do it myself. That's how. I couldn't turn myself. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. When you inject me with medication, even an injection, it was enough to trigger diarrhea. I was bones, only a candle that was hanging like a stock sweet, And so Dr. Spencer came and asked he's a consultant. He asked the consultant, how long has this patient been like this? But considering the time, Mpumi private hospital, we are talking over a year and that, and it's like, if I come back on Monday, this patient is like this, we are pulling the plug. Call the family, tell them there's nothing we can do.
It was a painful experience at that time, because there was a time that I saw, okay, now I'm about to lose her at the same time. But I didn't have to be scared at the same time, because I was being said to Zan at that time. So me being scared actually couldn't work for me. Actually, I had to step up at the same time also.
Though she was on her deathbed, her fighting spirit lived on. Musa would write posts on her Facebook page about her challenges in hospital, which included being denied a life-saving operation. A great Messiah by the name of Kenny Liduma was her saving grace.
My intestines had twisted. I don't eat. So they tied a knot and they attached themselves to my body. So my bowel was not moving. And as time goes on, the waste that was coming out was affecting the other organs. And I advocated for myself because there's a guy I don't know. His name is Kenny Liduma.
I called a lady who was working at the provincial legislature in Gauteng province and asked for the number of the MEC, Qedani Mahlangu. She gave me the number, but she also gave me the number of a gentleman. I think the surname was Sengwa. That gentleman was the chairperson of the ANC's study group in the legislature. I called both of them and both of them undertook that they would attend to the matter immediately.
The former Gauteng MEC of Health stepped up her game, and that's how Musa's life was spared.
You know, sometimes when people have got negative stories about people, some of us have got good stories about them. I've never met her. I've never got to say thank you to her for what she did. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon where she called and said, every doctor that has ever laid hands on this patient, I want a report as to what had happened. And then I was afforded to get an operation. So Musa is grace that I'm alive. Blessing is what I want to become to other people.
This is as thousands of these rescue workers continue to comb through this area. Griselda Lewis, SABC News in Hatay City, Turkey.
SABC News is launching a 24-hour news channel on DTT in all indigenous languages.
This DTT channel will provide news bulletins at the top of each hour,
from current affairs to live parliament proceedings
in your language.
SABC News, your voice, independent, impartial.
What's wrong? It's Do you want to sit down? I'm good. Are you sure? I love you.
Pain held in for years. Listening to Stories Untold interview with her daughter was a reminder of everything they have both suffered. From having it all to having to deal with challenge after challenge, it was time to let it all out.
So I'd lost everything I had. I lost literally everything I had, cars, houses, and I'm grateful. I think more than anything else, the existence of God in my life that has become so practical. If you can tell me there's no God, I've got proof of how the one I believed in has showed up in my life.
Her faith in the Lord remains steadfast despite all she has suffered. Her journey of healing started when those who caused her most pain were apprehended.
They were caught after that, and I went to visit them in prison. I wanted to go to them, and in fact I do prison ministry. Amongst other things I do, I would go to the prison and I will pray with them. And the reason why I go to prison is because the people that have caused me so much pain are in that place. And if the change is supposed to happen, it needs to happen from where I felt the most pain. And I would go there with love, not in anger, to go and tell them. So I visited them one tour. I wanted to know why me? How many people came on the day that they passed? What made it to be me? It was different stories. Though the 3 of them died in prison from AIDS, they didn't make it out. And the one that confessed to what is done to me is the one that's alive. So I go to prison. Those people who did the thing to me, they were just used, according to what I believe in God that I serve, they were just used for the purpose of God in my life. And that was clear. That's why I had to go and tell them that I forgive you. And I wish you don't die in your pain, because the worst prison that you are in is this one of what you have done to me. And I want you to know what I've let you go. I wish you can find the peace that I have. I don't think God was absent. God was there. He watched me being raped in the way that I was repeatedly. I couldn't breathe. It was so brutal. They used my bra to tie my hands at the back and my panties. For a number of years, I wouldn't buy panties. They took the panties and they put it in my mouth to close me from screaming. And I couldn't even cry anymore. There was no sound that could come out. It was just when you've just, I didn't have tears. No, that was not painful. It was brutal. It was one of the brutal incidents ever. Didn't know why. So I think that's what it probed for me to want to find out why is it? It felt like a revenge of some sort. So I wanted to know, maybe are they confusing me with someone who has done it? But I wanted that closure, And when I realized that it just had absolutely nothing to do with that, and I needed to tell them that I forgive you.
Have you forgiven the perpetrators, the people who harmed you?
I don't know. I want to say yes, but I don't know. A lot was taken away from me.
The social ills that South Africa is currently faced with, which include but are not limited to GBV and unemployment, are the reasons Mpumi believes she, her mother, and many other women in this country are harmed.
First thing that I would like to change is the patriarchal structure that South Africa is founded on. There's that in itself is not just harming the females. We're not the only ones who are being disadvantaged from it, but even the men, because then there's an energy of entitlement. They go through the most, and instead of dealing with that, they figure they need to work at it this way or that way. And therefore, we are then disadvantaged. So if I could possibly have them in the shoes of women for a day, understand that they're not the only ones going through the pains, and that we are willing to hear where they're coming from, that way maybe they'll be a bit more soft, Because even on the day of the incident, I remember one of the things that stick out is that these guys didn't come maliciously. They said, and that is painful, that they would inflict such pain because they are hungry. So I think that's also the basis why GBV happens so much, because we are hungry, we are frustrated, we are tired, not just as women, but as a nation as a whole. So if I could, I'd make it rain money so we could all have all the money in the world, and we wouldn't lack anymore. So yeah.
It is said, give thanks in all circumstances, for there are lessons even in challenges.
The attitude of gratitude, it doesn't make sense, I guess, when I say it that way, but all the little downfalls always came up with some sort of an upcoming, or rather a victory. And if you were to look at it from the outside, it doesn't look like a victory, but she celebrates them as victories. So whether she was sick, whether she was unemployed, whether just everything was coming to a crumble, there's always something to look forward to. So that attitude, I think, is something that I take with me.
If Musa was to give herself a pat in the shoulder given everything she has been through, this would be her message to herself.
I've defeated the many things that were meant to. I've cheated death. I've robbed death over and over, and that makes me feel very, very victorious. I'll say, well done, girl. I've done things beyond myself, where I look and like, Upindile Waizolo was not going to do what Musa is doing.
The best thing about life is that tomorrow you get a chance to start all over again. We hope that you are inspired. From myself, Pule Mulebati, and the rest of the team, let's do this again. Same time, same place. Goodbye.